Hi, I'm Walt Hanklosky. I'm one of the Associate Directors here at the Center for Teaching Excellence. We have, I believe we're moving up to like 5 of them now. And today we're going to be talking about TA portfolios, how to document and connect teaching, research, and teaching activities. Now what I've done is on your seats, you have a sheet. And I think it might be good to start off with this. If you could please list a maximum of 3 items that you feel at this point in time, 3 items that integrate some elements of your teaching here as a TA, some elements of your research that you may be working on in your programs, and or some elements of service that you may be performing. So please list a maximum of 3 items that integrate teaching, research, and service needed to present your credentials for higher education employment. How are we doing? Anyone still need a bit? Okay. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing 3 things. The first thing we want to do is we want to be able to talk about some of the traditional elements of a teaching portfolio for the purpose of increasing the quality of teaching and learning. The reason why you have received your assistantship is that you are contribute to the learning and the teaching process at the university. Okay? We want to be able to look at that first and foremost because that's what the teaching portfolio is primarily about. Secondly, we want to be able to look at the traditional elements of the teaching portfolio again for the application of research, teaching, and service components in the tenure and promotion process. When I first came to the University of South Carolina as an assistant professor, a man by the name of Peter Selden came here and he began to give workshops in the teaching portfolio. He did this for 2 years. I became a follower. I listened to him and everything he had to say about his teaching portfolios. I applied everything that he did in the process of using the teaching portfolio to gain tenure and promotion, and I slid through. It was a very easy process. And the goal of this, when you talk about research and service, is to be able to integrate them so closely and I'm speaking from personal experience now, so closely that you don't know when you're putting together a file to find employment at another institution or to seek tenure and promotion at this or any other institution, to be able to find difficulty in saying, did I use this for teaching? Can I put it in there for that? Or can I put it in for my research? Or can I put it in for my service? If you can learn to integrate the three of them together, you can be very successful in the use of this process. The third thing we want to do, and this is what you just did here, you have just written down some ideas. Hopefully, you're going to modify those ideas by the end of the presentation. And I want us as a group, in the remaining time that we have, to be able to share some examples of these teaching portfolio elements that may be applied to your research, teaching, and service components that you feel can be applied for finding employment, as well as being able to ultimately go for that tenure and promotion process in higher ed. Of the people here, how many people are interested in becoming academics in higher ed? Okay, so I'm preaching to the choir, sort of? Okay. All right, let's start off with the traditional teaching portfolio. If you look on your second sheet that I passed out, you'll be able to see all the bullets that I'll be coming up with. They'll be right in front of you. You can go ahead a little bit or behind as you so choose. Okay. But what we want to do is look at the major parts of the teaching portfolio for the prime purpose of improving teaching here at the University of South Carolina. When we look at the traditional elements, the first thing you need to do, and by the way, at the end of this presentation, I am going to give you a website at UCLA. I want you to go to that website. I want you to be able to take all the information I've given you here, and I want you to be able to compare it what the teaching center at UCLA is trying to do with their TAs to help them to get a leg up and to move ahead to everybody else in the employment process. So the first thing you should be doing, if you are dealing with, as a lab, if you have individual courses. I know some people here are teaching individual courses, like in sociology, correct? I know that there are probably, how many people are lab people in here? Okay, we have lab people. How many people are teaching clinical sections? Okay, whoa, okay. How many people are teaching full classes? Okay, we have all that. The first thing you should be doing from day one, and this is something that employers will be looking at, they want to know exactly what courses that you have. They want to be able to have all of your enrollment statistics. As a result, they want to know, they will be breaking them up into, are you teaching in large groups? Are you teaching in small groups? And then you'll be able to give them brief descriptions of the courses. I'll give you my own personal take on that. I think it's nice, okay, to start off with the curriculum description. If you have another professor's course that you've taken over, you may be working with that professor's teaching description or curriculum description of that course. And then we'll talk about how you may be changing it or will change it in the future. Okay? But you must have all of that for every semester you're teaching. You should also be able to keep syllabi for courses. I'm just curious, because I want to know who you are and what you're doing too, so we can be real. How many people are using syllabi that your professors have given you? Okay. How many people are using syllabi that you've created yourselves? Okay. Good. Now take a look at the hands that are here. Because what's happening is those people who are using the syllabi that professors have given you, the chances are that within your experience here at the University of South Carolina, you will change that to some degree to be able to complement your particular style of teaching. As that evolves, what you want to do is you want to be able to look at your courses and every semester. If you keep them, you can begin to monitor how you're beginning to change. And that becomes your contribution to a new job. In other words, I'm not just a mirror reflection of my professor. You should look at your student evaluations of teaching effectiveness. There are, I believe, 6 questions at the University of South Carolina that all students must answer about your teaching. And they're really simple, from did you show up every time? Did you have office hours? Right? But then there are other ones that each department has put together. By the way, there are some departments here at the university, and I have worked, anyone from like exercise science here? Nobody. That's a large group. You know why I don't think they're here? Because they're well organized. They're reviewing each other. They're contributing to what each other's doing in their courses. They're advancing the curriculum. They're having meetings with their professors. They're moving ahead. And they're doing a good job of it. And they're recording it. Okay? That's what's important. They're recording it. So look at all of your evaluations. Every course at the University of South Carolina must have evaluation forms from students at the end of the semester. Correct? It is the job of the departments to be able to keep those evaluations. It is your job to keep them as well. And I'm going to show you in a minute, you're going to have 2 ways of documenting this. Okay? This is primary source documents. This is your evidence. You have to have your evidence. The next thing you will do is you're going to write an evaluation of yourself. Every semester. I'll embarrass myself by saying I have been teaching in higher ed for over 30 years. I have all of my syllabi, and what I do each semester is I write notes to myself saying what I am doing in my courses, and I teach a large course. I teach graduate students, I teach undergraduate students. Just by way of introduction, I'm a professor of media arts at the university. I teach undergrad and grad students, master's students. My PhD is in curriculum and instruction. My master's degree is in educational media and communications. That's why we're going to think positive thoughts that our technology works today. It worked all last night, and I came here, it didn't work. My undergraduate degree is in secondary English and speech communication. And I've taught here, both here, and I've taught in Australia, and I've been educated in London, so I've been through different kinds of teaching scenarios. But you need to be able to write some kind of evaluation on how good you are as a teacher, how good you think you are. Because people are going to be interested in interview processes. You should also begin to keep personal statements of what you want to do now and what you want to do in the future. Yeah?
Would I also keep personal statements from students who write you emails and send you thank you cards and talk about how great your class is and how great you are as an instructor? You keep all those things.
What a perfect thing that is to say, because that's exactly what I'm going to tell you in a minute, okay? You must be reading my thoughts, right? I love it. Okay. Yes. But what you want to do before that is you have to remember you're an individual too. And sometimes your goals are different. I started out in the field of educational communications. But instead of the research that I found in my field that I was studying for in my PhD, I loved the research that was going on in psychology. I loved the research that was going on in general communication theory. I abandoned my program. Wow. Did I take a chance? And I took a whole chance, and I moved from teaching in colleges of education to teaching in colleges of liberal arts and sciences. Something I'm very proud of. Something that I managed to do reasonably well. Okay, so you have, yeah. Is it good to administer mid-semester evaluations? And yes, I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. I love it. You guys are reading my mind. You should also be working in peer review for each other. I'm in charge of tenure and promotion for the Department of Art. I'm the chair, co-chair of that. And we have someone coming up for third-year review, post-tenure review right now. The individual's never had the teaching reviewed. The teaching committee screwed up. And oftentimes that will happen. Professor Lyon over there in the back, if he walked out for a minute, he would tell you that in engineering, how many times do you review your teachers?
Once a semester if they invite you.
Once a semester if they invite you. Does everybody invite them? Supposed to? Okay, good. So what's happening is we have that. There are other departments who do it once or twice during a 5-year period. I know in our program we have it written in writing that they do it once a year. Okay? So, but you can review each other. And you make each other better teachers as a result of it. What are you doing in your class? We're teaching the same classes. I like what you're doing better than what I'm doing. Can I rip off your information? Thank you. Okay. So what I do, you help me to become a better teacher. Okay. If I'm doing something better than somebody else, maybe the three of us can go together and have lunch, and we can begin to review what each other's doing. Okay. We can look at any kind of personal innovation, instructional innovation that we are engaging in our courses. If you are doing something new and different, there are departments that are saying, you are coming in here, now you are more tech savvy than somebody else may be, so we want you to be able to work in that area. Or you have an emphasis in this sub-element of research that relates to the course. Why don't you engage in that element that you have a particular interest in your course? See how you can work it in. You are putting new innovation into their program. One thing you need to do as a result of that is you need to be able to go and you need to be able to collect different kinds of support from our statements. So if you and I are teaching the same courses, what we can do is we can collectively review each other and write a letter, possibly to the chair, saying, this is an idea we have. Put it in writing. Make the chair put something back in writing to you. If it's positive, you have something nice for your portfolio. See how that works? You can also record different kind of teaching honors and recognition. I'm going to show you somebody who did that in a minute. Okay, so you should be constantly finding. Here at the University of South Carolina, we have some really different ones. What is there? Thumbs up.
One this year.
Congratulations. See, now isn't that nice for your portfolio? Yeah. Yeah. And where did that come from? That's right. Students that nominated you. So when you go for an interview, you say, I have student support, right? That's the kind of thing that you should be doing. You should be trying to achieve those honors. There are dormitories that give out honors. When students graduate, they are given a sheet to say, is there anybody at the University of South Carolina that you believe helped you to achieve your goals? Most of the time that comes out as professors, though. Okay? But they can also mention that as TAs. Okay. Record honors and recognition of advisement. We're going to see a professor who does that now all the time, who has students, who advises students to engage in her research. And I'm going to show you a full professor that's doing that today. you can do that now. If you are doing some work and you feel that you can get somebody, we're gonna hear about Magellan Scholars in a minute, so I'll just kind of leave this, all right, and go on. You can analyze statements relating the integration of syllabi into curriculum. I cannot underestimate the importance of that statement. I also have been working on the teaching committee in the Department of Art forever. And one of the things I do is I do peer reviews of faculty, of my colleagues, just like you can do them of yourselves. And what happens is I will go and meet with the faculty member and I will say, all right, you have done a nice presentation in the classroom. That's only part of an ability to measure your teaching. How does what you're teaching fit in with some other professor? How does your information that you're teaching in your course give sequential knowledge that allows a student to grow? Are you just some ancillary course on the side that nobody cares about? Or are you integrated into the overall structure of the knowledge that someone in your program needs in order to succeed? Because if your students succeed, then you'll be succeeding. Now let's look at some of our products, objective products for good teaching. What you want to do is you want to record any kind of student success. I have a TA now. All right, I work in the area of media. I work in the creative arts. I have a TA teaching a course who had students who submitted their work both onto YouTube, which is not that big, in my opinion, to be honest with you. But I have the same student who had his students submit his students into a student competition, and they won. That's a TA. That's something I would expect one of my colleagues in my program to do. That's a TA who's going to get a job someday at another institution, because that's objective evidence that the person is committed to teaching and knows how to teach. So that's what you should be doing as well. You should also be collecting student publications and presentations of related work. I present with my students now. I'm a little bit older in the program, so I really don't need to amass, all these accolades. So what I do is I give them away. I share them as much as I can. And if I have a student, I say, let's do something together. Why don't I let you take some of the leadership in this and I'll guide you? Okay. And you're going to hear more about that from another professor that does that in biology in a minute. Okay. But take a look and try and get things into various kinds of publications. Our publications at the University of South Carolina are publications. Try and begin to highlight some of the work that you're doing in there. Look at different kinds of student testimonials. Is that what did I right? Are we on the same page? What department are you in?
College of Social Work.
College of Social Work. Okay. Yeah, I gave a session with all the 85 of you teaching. I couldn't believe it. I had a section of 85 social workers that we talked about how to improve teaching across not just this campus, across the whole state, because you guys are everywhere. You're huge. Okay. So what you do is anytime you begin to get something nice. I had a student send me an email. I had 2 emails I got in the past month. One of them said, oh, Dr. H, I remember you from 8 years ago when I was there and you stuck out in my mind as somebody who helped me. I just needed to tell you this information and wanted to ask you a question. Hey, is that nice? Yeah. 8 years? Not bad. Okay. I had another student who came to me. He sent an email to me just yesterday. I got him an internship. I said, my goal in life is to get you a job. He said, my goal in life is to get a job. I said, and then I got an email the day before from somebody who was who's doing a feature film here in South Carolina, who has 3 more spots for people. And this person is in advertising and public relations, which is a little bit beyond us. That's more journalism kind of things. I knew him from my class. I sent him an email on the spot. I said, get here right now. There were 3 seats left. He was there. It went to his iPhone. He was there within 15 minutes. He got the last seat. He's ecstatic because he is going to be doing all of the PR and advertising for a feature film. He's a student. Sent me an email saying, you're the best. You know? So it's the kind of thing that's good. And he said, I really appreciate you going out of your way. That's all you have to do. And you're a TA. It doesn't matter. You go out of your way to help people. Analysis of student records on pre- and post-course examinations. You're smiling, right? What department are you in? Criminal justice. And do you do that normally in your programs?
Well, this is the first time I've taught. I just came in over there. I might as well give them a week 8 midterm evaluations. And I gave them to them after the grades were given back for the first test. And surprisingly, the evaluations were still good.
Okay, what's your first name? What's your first name? Frank. Okay, this is Frank from criminal justice. And he's talking about something called formative and summative evaluation. Formative and summative evaluation is at the end of a semester, you're going to be giving them exams to be able to find out what their final grade is. But the problem is, during the semester, you're in a formative stage. You're in an evolving stage. So what you can do is you can always ask your students not just to give them mid-semester grades or mid-exams. You ask them to give you some kind of feedback. What am I doing well? What do you want to learn that I'm not doing? Then you could get that additional information, and then you can make your teaching better, you make your teaching reviews better, and you have a rosier future, right? Hopefully. Well, let's take a look at somebody who's doing that. Oh boy, go back.
Professors need to be passionate about their teaching because they want their students to learn. And a professor that comes into the classroom and doesn't seem enthusiastic about the material they're teaching cannot get a student to be enthusiastic about that material either. Teachers who come in and love their subject reflect that in what their students learn. For example, I teach history and I think history is awesome. One of my goals is to make my students also think history is awesome. So when you come into a classroom, you want to show that enthusiasm to your students. One of the things that I've learned to help students understand history, for example, is that you need to start out with the basic information, right across the top. I've been studying history for a really, really long time, but my students haven't. So you need to start out with some basic information, and then you can dig deeper or dig those holes into specific ideas that you want to teach your students, and then they can pick up on them and they'll learn how interesting it can actually be. But without that base, a lot of times students can't pick up on it.
And Dr. Miller is awesome herself. She won the the Duffy Teaching Award this year. So this is one of the videos we did. She's trying to talk to faculty to tell them the kinds of things that she's doing in her class. By the way, that's going in her T&P file. Right? See how we help too? We all help one another. Okay. All right. Okay, so the primary administrative responsibilities to faculty. Now this is where people like the CTE comes in. This is people where your chairs come in and your departments come in. what we find is that it's oftentimes good to find an unmandated mentor. Okay. Find someone within your department. It may be someone who's in your research area, a professor with whom you're able to strike a nice relationship, and try and ask that person for help. When you get into an institution, I know I have a mentor, right? I'm a mentor to a young faculty member right now who's in the TMP process, and he'll be coming up pretty soon. He comes and we constantly talk. We may go to lunch on occasions. We went to the faculty party Friday night and talked to the president and other people about some things he's doing. I'm trying to promote what he's doing. Okay, and that's what can be done in your own departments. People can promote you. Now, the role of the mentor is that individual should be looking at your syllabi. And that individual, if you're capable of evolving that syllabi into other areas, that individual should be coming with you and saying, this is what you're doing that's really well. Maybe we can talk about you evolving in this other way. And you say, okay, here's some books to read about it. You get the books. That person can help to guide you in other directions. And what happens, of course, as a result of that, that person is obviously or hopefully going to be someone who is going to be writing glowing reviews of you and your teaching and the work that you've done when searching for new employment. That person should also be reviewing your teaching. Most departments have forms, or not most, many departments have forms to review teaching. Some people just go in and they simply will look at a session, experience a session that you're giving, and they will write a review of your teaching and give it to you. Other places even videotape. I know nursing school. I used to work for a nursing program years ago when I first started in this business. I used to review a lot of faculty who were teaching in that program. There are people, I have one of our students now who's working in the medical school here, does the same thing with them. And that is something that you can begin to also collect for your portfolio. And that, by the way, the mentor should sit down with you and say, here's what you're doing that's well. Here's what you're doing that I believe can have some improvement. Look at this. That person should also review your student evaluations and sit down with you in an honest candor to be able to evaluate what you're doing. Where's Jed? Jed in the back? Oh, he did. Well, Jed, my boss, and I've been doing this for a long time, he came in today and he said, oh, let's see what you're doing, Walt. He helped me to improve some of the cells on this session. I love the support. I love the assistance. The more minds that collectively come in, the better. Okay? I have no head in that. I always need help. Doesn't matter how old you are. Take a look at the recommendations that represent the administration. The mentor should be somebody who talks to the chair and says, I have Susan Jones here, I have Bob Feldman here, and I think that they are doing a good job, or this is something that we may be able to help to suggest improvements. I know that some groups are left alone, unfortunately. We won't talk about the department name, what we try to do is we try to get the faculty to assist and to promote better teaching within the departments. The extended support to a peer evaluation program. I'm sorry that exercise science wasn't here because that's one of the ideas for them. There are so many of them. And they're going to be, I think they're going to be responsible for teaching all the courses in human anatomy. And there's just a lot of sections. I mean, this is something for nurses and for doctors and for biologists. And, anyway, what they need to do is they need to have some kind of a peer evaluation program where they're going in and constantly evaluating each other. They get together once a month. They have meetings and they talk about how they can improve the overall program. Of course, they have 2 major courses that they teach. And they break the students into groups and they try to get them to better understand how they can advance the quality of the teaching that they're doing there. Present and support teacher portfolio workshops and presentation. Hey, isn't that what we're doing? I don't have to say anything about that, do I? Although I know that there are departments that also do things like this. It would be very, I think it would be very appropriate to highlight the great work of one of our vice presidents. Her name is Christine Curtis. She is the one who works with our faculty. I have seen her work. I have listened to some of her sessions. What she does, she goes out of her way enormously to help the young faculty here at the university rise up to the quality of performance that will allow them to get tenured and promoted. Okay, so here we see it. I see it at some places at department levels. I see it at college levels, and I see it all the way at our top administration. So that's something that should being done. And of course, the Center for Teaching Excellence is always here to help people. All right, the secondary administrative responsibilities are to establish a faculty resource and teaching center. Is that what we have here, Jed? Yeah, I think so, right? Okay. So and there are so many others. I'm going to, as I said, at the end of the program, I'm going to take you to a site at UCLA, at their teaching center, and they have a very nice teaching guide specifically designed for TAs. And I think that that'll be something that you're going to want to see, so that you can go beyond what goes in this limited time of this session here. You should begin to process and maintain portfolios for future review. This might be a good time to I'd like to give an advertisement. Write anywhere on your sheet. Okay. We have something called Eportfolios. Eportfolios on Blackboard. Within those ePortfolios, you can store all of your comments from students, reviews from faculty. You can put video on there. You could put audio interviews that you've done on there. You could put graphics on there. Whatever your discipline, you can put information in there that will be your portfolio. And from that portfolio, if you apply for a job at Stanford or so, you email your portfolio to them. Sweet. Is that nice? Okay. But you're organized now. And who's going to help you to organize the portfolio? Answer me that. I'll pick on you, okay? No. Well, I'll help you if you ask me. But who should be helping you? We just talked about it. That's right. Your mentor should be helping you. And your friends, your colleagues. You all help one another. And you look at each other's portfolios and you say, what do you think? And you don't have the hassle of saying, oh, I can find that piece of paper. Oh, I forgot the percentage, what level I was rated in my teaching. No, they're all electronic. Send them the file. You want some primary documents or secondary? You have both? Yeah, I'll send it to you like that right now. Yeah.
Where do you find this email on Blackboard?
It's on Blackboard. Okay. Oh, here. And here's what Renee wanted me to say. This is the way she wanted me to say it. She said, one way that you can also get some special help is with Renee Schaefer and her email. She said I could give it out. It's RENEES for Schaefer at mailbox.sc.edu. All right? You have a good source? Hopefully. And I think what will happen is after you go to UCLA's website, some of you are going to be contacting Renee. I said, Renee, you may get an avalanche. She said, that's fine. We love it. You should also assist faculty in related curriculum development. You're only a TA. Why can't TAs, through their mentors, discuss changes that can occur in certain classes, try and promote those changes, see if you can begin to contribute ideas that will evolve the curriculum? If you don't, it's a wonderful intellectual exercise that you can then say, oh, when I was at the University of South Carolina, here's what we wanted to do. They did not want to go in this direction. But ironically, I just found out that your university likes it. I did that 2 years ago. Positive statement, right? And you have evidence of it. Okay. Now, that is some things that you could do to get yourself organized for the University of South Carolina so far. Why is this important? Because when you get out, if you go to a university or a college, you are going to go through tenure and promotion. And that's what we want to talk about here. How this is all going to relate to tenure and promotion. What does it look like at the end? And why was it so important that you started the process today? I decided to take a look at a nursing program. Any nurses here? How many scientists? Gee, not that many. Normally, I get a lot of scientists in here. I'm surprised. Anyway, I picked one. And this is a quote from Oberman. It says, promotion, tenure, and reappointment of merit decisions are based on an assessment of quality research, teaching, and service, and clinical practice. I picked this one because it had clinical practice. And I'll relate clinical practice to like librarianship and things like that, depending upon the mission and purpose of the nursing program. The traditional elements, again, are going to be teaching, research, and service. And I liked this one, and I liked working with the nursing program example because they included the clinical practice in here. And I thought that was significant. So if you look at the teaching elements, you will be dropping in ideas. Somebody's off cubicle there. They'll be dropping in their research, their teaching, their service, and their clinical experience. And the whole idea is to relate everything to teaching. And when you put it all in that box, you can then begin to mix it up in a variety of ways to say, I can use this sometimes for teaching, I can use it for service, I can use it for research. And what you do is, I know when I went through my first TMP, my only TMP review, I simply said, I didn't know where to put things. I plugged them in different ways so I gave a balanced portfolio. And I did not, in my college, I was not supposed to go up with research. Everybody had to go up with teaching. A lot of my people, when I first came here, were into this service area. I went up in research, which was harder, and did not have problems with that. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Okay. Note that the clinical practice extends to lab instructions and supervision, field instruction and supervision, internship supervision, and library services among a whole host of other areas that you may be working in. When you look at the teaching elements for the T&P teaching portfolio now, you'll see student ratings of teaching effectiveness. You will have to have everything in there documented and supported for tenure and promotion at the institution where you're working. However, you have things that you have from before that show evidence that you started out with good teaching reviews. And that is permitted. You can supply peer evaluations of teaching effectiveness, okay? And that, of course, is what the teaching committees do in the various departments, and you will have a collection of those. You will supply evidence of integration of syllabi into the curriculum, which is critical because you don't just live on an island. You live in a world. Your world is your program. Your island is your course, or courses. So you have to be able to make sure that you can integrate everything together as in a curriculum. And you should supply application of research and or service-based teaching methodologies. And we're going to see an example of that, hey, maybe right now. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, no. Go back. Darn you. Go back.
I use my teaching to help with the professional placement and advancement of my students by number 1, discussing my research in class. Number 2, I invite students that are interested to meet me in my office. We discuss their interests and professional goals. Based on this, I design a simple project for them that they can apply for the Magellan Fellowship. We apply for this as a student-teacher team. Once they get the fellowship, I'm there mentoring them in the field and in the laboratory. I send them to national conferences, the South Carolina Academy of Sciences, Discovery Day. The aim is to win the fellowship and aim for the prize at these conferences. And being a faculty at the regional campuses, it's important to continue mentoring them after they've completed the first 2 years at the regional campuses.
Dr. Fernandez, full professor, recently promoted. Okay? Still doing it. Okay? I can't figure it out. Do I put that under teaching? Do I put it under research? Because the student's doing the kind of research that I've been doing for a while now in my lab? Or do I put it under service? Because I'm doing a service to my professions. Where does it go? Isn't that a, huh?
All three.
All three. Isn't it a nice conundrum? It's a beautiful conundrum. Because in something like that, people are going to look at you and say, wow, I have a professor that does it all. Dr. Fernandez, full professor. Okay. Okay. So now looking at the research elements that we work on all the time, supply elements of syllabi integration into your research topics. You should be integrating everything that you're doing in your teaching into your research, because that's what you're bringing into the classroom. That's how you're advancing knowledge, which is what we're hired to do. Isn't that the first goal of a professor? You know, so many people think our first goal is to teach. First goal is to advance knowledge. From the knowledge that we advance, we bring it into the classroom and we share it. And it spreads out. And then we do it through service with our organizations. Okay. So we supply elements of syllabi integration into our teaching. We supply evidence of individual student inclusion in teaching research projects. Isn't that what she's saying? She's working with undergraduate students. She is from one of our regional campuses. She is not working with people who are in 300-400 level classes or graduate classes. She's working with people who are in biology 111, or what was it, 101 or 102. That's what she's doing. And she's getting Magellan Scholars? That is a good professor. That is a highly tenurable individual. These are people who supply out evidence of student group inclusion in teaching research topics. In my own area in media arts, we have professors that take our students and they create productions, because a lot of the work in the arts in our field is collaborative. So we take a lot of our young artists, we mentor them, we help them to create quality productions, and then they submit those out as groups, and then they win awards. Okay. We also supply self and student publications for teaching research. I have a professor, the individual I am mentoring he is, if not now, he is going to be the world's foremost authority on manga. What? Manga, an anime, Japanese animation. What's your field?
Engineering.
Engineering, okay. Well, in this includes, but this is in the arts, okay? And he is going to do that. But what do his students do? He took his students. He has 2 different websites now that he created from scratch from them. One is called We Create Media, which is anything, and the second one is We Create Manga. This individual just got back from China, where he was invited to give keynote speeches. He's brand new, he's a newbie. He gives keynote speeches in China, and he had people in China asking him to collaborate. Japanese manga is done in Japan. They want to collaborate with the University of South Carolina. Does this person look good to you? Excellent. And who's doing it? His students. He put a lot of time up front in the project, and now his students are running it, and he simply comes in and monitors what's being done. And we supply self and student professional presentations on the teaching of research. I love to present with my students at conferences, just regional things, which is fine. It's wonderful for them. I try to give them the lead. And we talk about, of course, we design it together. Service elements. Supply best practice publications of a quality curriculum. Okay. This is something now where Professor Davis, the person I'm mentoring, he goes out and he has, they're asking him on how to be able to teach manga. He's in China and they're asking him, how do you teach what I have grown up with? Okay. So he has best practices that he can advertise. Supply presentations and workshops for quality teaching and syllabi development. Okay. That's something, of course, we do here, right? For the young professors, that we get a lot of interest in that from the people who are coming in, because we have to teach them according to the guidelines of South Carolina, University of South Carolina. We do things that are a little different than other institutions, which is fine, by the way. We evidence service in local, regional, and national curriculum guides. Why not in your field of engineering? Why not go to your national organization, join in their national guidelines, and every few years, I think I'm right in this, Jed, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you, I know in my organization, we review our guidelines for reviewing programs in media about every 5 years, and we have committees. Yours does it every year. Every year. You join that committee. What happens when you contribute information to the new curriculum guide? Is that a publication or not? Yes. It can either be considered a publication and or service. And does it relate to teaching? Yeah. It all integrates together into the portfolio. And you show evidence and service and institutional program evaluation and review. What I told you before, I did that, by the way. Jed, I think you did it too. Were you on ever do your reviews for your national organizations?
No, I've not.
You haven't? Okay. Yeah, I wrote one of the guidelines. I co-authored one of the guidelines for that. And then I ran the program. I ran the whole group of our professors in the organization traveling around the country. And we used to do so many institutions every year, traveling there to review their academic programs to meet the criterion that we had written in the guidelines. Is it service? Is it research? Is it teaching? Actually, in that one, I think it's more service and research. That's where I would put it. But it all works for the same area. Okay. So the conclusion is the elements of research service are fundamentals to the quality of teaching. So don't just think, you separate everything out. And the distinction of research, teaching, and service elements in the teaching portfolio may serve as conceptual, procedural core for the T&P document. That's exactly what I did when I went up. I started my personal statement. I said, I have chosen to write my entire document based upon 2 years of presentations given by Peter Selden at the University of South Carolina during the years da-da-da-da. As the university has agreed that this is an appropriate way for faculty to progress in their careers, I have chosen to open up my sections according to what is stated in the book, the TA Portfolio, whatever it was, his first book. Okay? And it worked. Okay? Now, if we can go here, think happy thoughts. Yes. Okay. If you go into the UCLA, this is the TA resources. And if you look here, what are UCLA tiering hiring procedures and titles? Where can I get it? They have a nice handbook there. Maybe something that'll be written here. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, probably. Jed's in the back going, yeah. Yeah, because we have a commitment to TAs now. You are our new loved ones. Okay? And if you type in here, if we go here, so you go, okay, go teaching portfolios. Let's see what comes up. Show something here. There we go. Let's go to teaching portfolios. All right. What is a teaching portfolio? Everything, not everything, much of what has been presented here will now be redundant there. And there will be new ideas in there that was not presented in here. Why do I need a teaching portfolio? When should I start it? What does it say? I can't read it. When should I start it? You can begin the day you start to prepare for your first class. Isn't that what we said in here? So how should I start building it? Here's a process. Nice process given to you. Why should I contact Renee Schaefer? Because Renee Schaefer is going to talk to you more about how you want to be able to create an electronic teaching portfolio. Is this good information? It's nice to see heads nodding. Can you show me some examples? Okay. And then if you go here, the other things in there, and I really don't want to spend time exploring this because I want you to do it on your own. There's no sense me doing it when you can find what you need by just going there. I'd rather spend our time together in a little bit more of a constructive way. And if I could get this down, if I could, let's see where we are here. Okay. So you know how to get there because you have it on your sheets. This is a bibliography that you may want to do. And I think the most important book is right here, in my estimation. So if you want to circle that. Peter Selden, Successful Use of Teaching Portfolios. I read all his books. I do like the 2004, but I think it's kind of like a musician. You know, it seems like their earlier songs are really great, and then all of a sudden it sounds like a lot of the same. So. And there are just some other things here. Berger is always great. Okay, and I wanted to have that nursing emphasis in here.